Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious.
Join us as we dive into the mystical, high-vibe ways we can connect to the universe and ourselves. We are trying anything and everything woo-woo. Whatever the result, mind-blowing, unbelievable, or hilarious, we promise to share in truth.
Ready to explore? Suspend disbelief and let's discover the mysterious together. Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. Today we have a true before and after. We are going on a breathwork journey, a transformational breathwork journey. This one is a wild ride. We don't really tell it in a linear fashion because you can't. That's not the nature of breathwork. But stay tuned, it's a ride. Do you got questions? So do we. Let's do this. Okie dokie.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I am scared.
Oh, me too.
I am freaked the F out, if I'm being honest. I have agita right now.
Well, before we tell everyone why you're freaking the F out, why don't you tell me about a weekly woo-woo?
All right. Good light stuff first. This is just the one you always hear, but it shows you that some spirits with you, right?
It's good.
I'm going through a really rough week. I'm fighting with somebody I love. It's very intense. I've actually felt heartsick, to be quite honest, like actually sick into my soul, heartsick, sad. And it is summer. That is the season. So my sign egrets that make me feel connected to spirit are around more. So I'm less I feel them less because I'm like, oh yeah, an egret flew by because I'm like, but it's summer. You know, doing that thing that you do. So send me a signy or sign.
Yep.
So a single egret doesn't do it for me. And I've just, everywhere I turn, abundance of egrets in every shape or form. Like I went on a website to source art for a client and egrets came up and then it did an AI search of all these egrets without me doing it. And I was in the car with the family and two egrets flew like their low bellies right over our car and down the road with us, like flying like an eagle flying next to you, but it's egrets. And a friend who isn't like connected to me in any woo but knows I like egrets, randomly sent me a video of like, look at all the egrets where I am today.
Oh, I love it.
So it's just coming at me. And you know, when you're super down, like you actually need to hit you in the face. And I basically had it hit you in the face. And that was what I needed. So I just felt guided, supported.
So guided. It's good.
So guided. All right, go girl.
So guided.
What's yours?
All right, so it's so funny. We always try to figure out what woo-woo to share beforehand. And so mine is from a little bit ago, but I felt like it was a good one, so I wanted to share it with everybody. You know how we've talked about Clara on the podcast, who we have anointed our angel of the podcast.
Yeah.
And so we talk to her and we sometimes say like beforehand, like, Clara, help us like communicate, help us do a good job on our podcast. And I was thinking about her recently and she's just, she comes into my head once in a while, but I always really associate her with this. I associate her with like this because obviously we named
our
her
passion project,
and we came up with it. We came up with her here. So I was at my son's basketball game and it was a summer tournament and it was the town-wide summer ball and he was in the tournament and his team was like the underdogs apparently. Like they weren't going to win, but they had come really far and they were in the tournament. And I was sitting there and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. Like he wants to be in the NBA. He's like practices all the time and he cares so much, probably more than like most kids. And so he puts a lot of pressure on himself. So I just always want him to just enjoy the game and like have fun. And I was sitting there watching him and this is like, again, the championship and he's in the championship and I know he's my kid, but he's the best kid on the team. So a lot of pressure on him and more pressure on himself, And so I'm watching the game and all of a sudden I get this like message in my head and it felt like a download and like I just felt so connected and I felt like Clara there. Like I felt her energy. I felt her around me and I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, Clara's with me. And I had this like message that I'm not just for the podcast. I'm like an angel for like things you're passionate about.
Love it.
And she literally like told me that. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was almost like she gave me permission. Like, hey, your son's passionate about basketball. Like I can help here too. I can support you here. Like I'm in such, like I was so nervous watching him and no exaggeration. While this is happening, while I'm having this download, I feel her with me. I feel the exact same energy I feel when we talk to her about the podcast. I look up and he's at like the free throw line. Like he had gotten fouled and he's at the free throw line. And I look and like, I always joke with him. I'm like, I'm like, you should never miss a free throw. Cause I'm like, I joke around, I'm like, don't ever miss a free throw, Connor. That's the easy stuff. I'm like, don't miss a free throw. You're too good to miss a free throw. And like, so he gets extra mad at himself. So it's not nice. I don't mean to be mean, but like, he knows I'm disappointed if he misses. He was like, I'm sorry, I missed. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm just kidding with you, you know? But it's funny. So he's at the free throw line where he knows mommy has like, expects him to make those. And so he's at the free throw line and I feel Clara and I look at the time on the clock and it's 11:11.
Yep, of course
I'm not even kidding. I'm like, you cannot make stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And I instantly knew he was going to make both free throws. I also knew he was going to win the game. And I also knew he was going to like feel good. Like I had all of these emotions and he made both free throws. They won the game. And I was like, I felt like it was such a supported thing. And the bigger picture, like it's just a small game, but obviously I care about my son. But like, it was like, oh my God, Clara, like she can be everyone's like passion project angel. So like the things you care about and love, like she's like there to like support and to guide us.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was awesome. And I literally was like, oh my God, I need to like, I want to like shout it from the rooftops. I was like looking around, like, can I tell anybody this?
Please, someone hear the story.
Like, where's Jenny?
Well, you know, like one of my validating things to you is we so specifically like to categorize things, you and I. And that was like, if it was a you ego thought, you would never let Clara be there. Like that wouldn't cross your mind. Clara is podcast. So the fact that you got that message, no, I'm for passion. That's so beautiful. It like makes me feel like angels are around us and you just validated that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was beautiful. And the 11:11 to like reaffirm it.
By the way, let's seal the deal.
Let's seal the deal. If I was doubting, which everyone's always doubting, I was like, it was awesome. So back to why are you so effing scared right now? Let's tell everyone our before. What are we about to do?
Well, let me see if I'll get it right. Transformational breathwork journey.
Yes.
Okay. So you've done this. That's one of the reasons I'm scared. One thing I'll say, whenever I hear anything about breath work, I freak out about anyone paying attention to my breath. I hold my breath all the time. Like I definitely don't breathe normal. I think that's pretty common. I don't think that's abnormal, but I'm very conscious that I'm not a good breather. And weirdly, despite being a great meditator back in the day, hopefully I'll return, but I was never good with the breathing part of the meditating even. So something relating to breath, I already know I'm going in like an underdog, to be honest. So now you've done this once with your husband and you astral projected.
Well, yeah. Well, and I don't think you're alone in that like breathing's hard. And I know it sounds so weird because it's an automatic, we automatically breathe, but when you're told to breathe, it's like stressful. I feel like I don't know how to breathe. I forget how to breathe. Like I literally like forget. And so what this was, and I have done it once and I did it a very, very long time ago. So I'm not super well versed and I'm also very nervous because it was exhausting and it was hard. And basically what we are going to do is like we do this very specific type of breathing. And this type of breathing allows you, I think, to get like centered and again, connect with whether the universe, whether yourself, and like I think we're gonna be able to explain it better because he'll hopefully explain it to us. But essentially what happened to me while I was doing this is I had the most weirdest experience where I'm in this experience, I'm breathing, and all of a sudden I almost felt like I couldn't even do it anymore. I was like twitching, I was uncomfortable, I was like trying to maintain this specific type of breathing, and it was like making me sick. And I remember the guy saying to us, like, the only way forward is through. Yeah. And I almost stopped. I almost just stopped breathing that way. And instead I went forward. And the next thing I know, I was like in my grandma's dining room. And I had the most crazy experience where I went to like another plane. Like, and I literally was in like a different dimension. I was in with my grandparents who are both passed away. And it was crazy. And I was having real conversations and I talked to my grandma a lot. Obviously I've talked about my grandma's show, but in that specific experience, my grandpa was there and he was like, don't ever be afraid to call on me. It was crazy. It was very crazy. Again, it was so long ago. It was like before we were even doing this. So it's not like it's even something I've shared, but it has stuck with me. And like, but the thing was, it wasn't relaxing. It wasn't even like fun. It was actually, it wasn't peaceful. It was very hard work on the body. So I'm also nervous and I don't even know if it's going to work. I don't even know if I'm going to have enough commitment to stick through it. Cause I did go through it, but it was like super weird. But basically the idea is that through breath, you can like basically go internally and like go beyond cause breath is life. And so like TBD on what happens, but that's what we're about to do, people.
I'm claustrophobic. I feel like stuck in my own body and breath before we go in. I don't feel this very often. I usually am very an optimist again. I'm scared that I'm going to either cop out or pass out.
Yeah, I don't even want to do it.
I know.
Honestly, I want to cancel. Like that's how unexcited we are, but we have to do some of the times we do the things are uncomfortable. And it's the fact that I literally don't want to do it is maybe making me think that we do need to do
Yes,
it, because the fact we're
'cause we're
so
resistant.
triggered to
Yeah, we're
it, and we say
triggered.
that all the time, that we're so resistant to stuff, it's what you need to do. So I'm hoping it's really good, and I'm hoping I'm not like, oh, the reason I didn't want to do it is because it was awful afterwards.
Right.
But
All right,
TBD.
we'll report back. Wish us luck. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We are back for our after on breathwork. And wow. It has been a week.
It's been a week.
Let's just say this is not a direct after. This has given us a little time to process. We are 1 week removed from our little spiritual getaway, and 1 week removed from the before, where we set it up that we were walking. Well, we were scared, and rightfully so. Let me just say,
Especially for
rightfully friggin' so. So it's been a week, and now we're back into everyday life. How are you feeling a week later?
I'm feeling great. You never know when you leave there. So, you're really in tune. You're in touch. You feel one with the universe. You feel all the warm fuzzies. My goodness, we had hoped that this weekend would get us back into the zone,
yes,
and did it ever.
It did.
And it was a wild week. And I try not to date our episodes because I think you guys know we collect them over time and then go live. But this was a heavy week for what's going on in the world, and I felt light through it all. I reverted back to the way I felt all week. I was able to just feel one and connected with spirit, and I was surprised at how strongly in a wild week it remained. And you even were traveling in New York, and you felt the same.
Honestly, I was shocked at how grounded I felt, and how in tune, and how connected. I feel like one of the big messages we got when we were at Mirabal is that we were all one.
Yes.
And I had this oneness, which I never even really understood what that meant. And I kind of had an aha moment there where I was like, oh, like there is like this connection between everybody. And I carried that with me. And it was a super busy work week in New York, traveling. And it's like thrown right back into the grind, and the energy of New York is intense. I love New York, but it's a different energy going from Mirabal, where you're spiritual. And I felt great. I felt connected, and I'm so happy. And I think part of that is some of the things we did, and especially this breath work. This breath work is done in order to help connect and to really get to deeper levels of consciousness. So
it was wild.
Oh my God, it was so wild. So why don't we like set up the room?
Yeah.
So what happened? So, we told you guys we were heading into this class, and when we got there, there was about 10 people and an instructor. There were mats all on the floor, like, separated from one another, blankets, headphones, eye masks. And so we sat down, we all had our own little area, and there was one instructor. And he got up and he basically started telling us about what we were going to be doing.
Well, I'd say, first of all, there was a lot of like pomp and circumstance of like, are you scared? You're about to do this. And I would say that, we walked in afraid, and I was afraid. I was sitting there and he was like, you can get through this. You're about to go on something. And you're just like, what is about to happen to me? But yeah, and then you're in kind of like a moody, dark room. It ultimately lights go off later, but you're like, what are we about to do? And there's a lot of energy leading up to it. And
I agree.
Innuendos that it's going to be difficult.
Yes.
And I'm like, God, I literally was like, do I want to do this?
Well, and if we weren't scared before, and I was a little bit because I had done it and it was so intense, but like if you weren't scared going in and just thought you were going to do some breathing, he definitely made you nervous. All of a sudden you're like, wait, what did I sign up for? And he's like, why are you here? Like, what do you want to get out of this? And it was very intense. Totally. I'm glad you set the stage there, where there was a lot of like nervous, and people were like looking around and like uncomfortable. And so,
wait, and one of the funniest things is he actually reads a medical list of what you have to say out loud in the room that you could move forward if you had, like, you couldn't do it if you had certain medical conditions. And I was like, oh gosh.
Like multiple medical. It was like riding a roller coaster. Yes. It was like you couldn't be pregnant, you couldn't have high blood pressure, you couldn't be blood thinners. Yeah. It was like
a bunch of things. So anyway,
it
got me pretty riled up, and I'm a pretty calm, like, ooh, I want to try anything person. But yeah, so he kind of set the stage with what the breath work was going to be, which you've done a little chat GBT to give us a definition of what the breath work is they're taking us on, told us a little bit about the history. So we kind of want to tell you first before we hop into our journey. So what did you find on the interweb.
And he basically shared some of the same information. So we can jump in with what he said and what I found. So essentially, what we were going to be doing was heliotropic breathwork. And heliotropic breathwork is a therapeutic practice developed to explore altered states of consciousness through accelerated breathing, music, and bodywork. It was created by Stanislav Grof and Christina Grof, and I could be butchering those names, but it's the best it sounds, to help individuals access deeper layers of the psyche for healing and personal transformation. So this essentially was created by these two people in the 60s and 70s, but it was modeled, and this is what the instructor told us, it was modeled after breath work that has been taking place for thousands of years, from like the Hindu, from the Maya to like back in Peru, like lands across the world for thousands of years have been doing different types of breath work to connect to spirit, to connect to themselves, and to like raise forms of consciousness. So when these two people decided to create it, they started looking at breath work, but they also added a fun little element of LSD. So they're basically doing breath work involved with like acid. And so they would give people like LSD, and they would trip while they were doing this breath work, and they would have these like insane journeys and like hallucinations, but not even hallucinations. They would go to other like states of consciousness, and they would come out with these aha moments, and it's very healing, and they would get to deeper level of the subconscious, and they would release trauma, and they would like feel like new people. And afterwards they were feeling healed, and the stress levels, there were scientific studies done around this, and the stress was actually reduced because they were releasing and dealing with trauma that was trapped in their body or trapped in their subconscious.
It's so wild to me to imagine adding the element of LSD. So I will give you one spoiler alert. You trip balls when you do breath work. Like, I am not kidding you. We have literally nothing in our body. We have a healing weekend. We're just wholesome and on natural foods. And this breath work makes you trip your balls off. So listen, how would this be with LSD? I can't imagine when dead sober, you feel high as a kite. So what they must have experienced, I cannot even imagine. But anyway, I think it's really wild that one day they decided.
Well, they didn't decide. So what happened was all of a sudden the law came in and said, hey, you can't do this. The law. Yeah. So it wasn't like, hey, let's not do it. I don't think they ever would have stopped because it was so, it was so insane. Yeah. It was so crazy and awesome, I guess. And so when they were like, obviously had to stop, they realized that like it doesn't matter. The LSD isn't even necessary. And that's exactly what we encountered. Crazy. Like we got as high and tripped as hard, I'm sure, as like without it. And so, and that was the whole point. Like we didn't need it. And so essentially like they've been using this practice to help heal and for people to connect and to go to this higher form of consciousness. And that's what this guy has been like, the instructor has been trained in doing. And so during this journey, this trip, it lasts about an hour of breath. And do you want to explain like how he told us to breathe?
No, because I don't remember. I'm a terrible breather, and I've lost it the minute I walk out. But the idea was it was a rounded breath where you're breathing in for a count, and then you never stop and you breathe out a count. And
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And it's supposed to be rounded. So you fill it up to 90%. At the tippy top, you release, and then you go. And there's no ending. So I'll tell you, one of my immediate things was to feel claustrophobic because he kept repeating once he taught us the breath. And he did a lot, by the way. We're making him sound intense. He's actually wonderful, has the most soothing, lovely voice. You feel like you're in safe hands with him. You know whatever journey you're going on, he's got you. In fact, he says, once we begin, I walk around the room and I'll like lift your headphones and tell you things to calm you or help you. And I felt very safe in his, care.
Yes.
But he definitely walks you through. You do practice rounds of it. But I think what was lodged in my brain was, oh my God, how am I going to do this for an hour? You almost feel handcuffed and stuck inside this breathing, or at least I knew that was how I was going to feel once it began. And once they say it's time to start, it is a 1 hour of never stopping this breathing. And if you listening, just think about this right now. That's a frightening commitment. I'm about to do this for an hour. And I kept thinking in my head, I'm going to be the one person that runs out of this room. Or something. But anyway, he sets the scene. He's so warm, fuzzy. In addition to doing the breath, and we learn it, right? He also goes through the medical list of what makes you not able, and everyone in the room could stay. And then then he says all the things that could possibly happen to you, and that in all the years he's teaching it, one of like 15 really crazy cool things could happen.
Right, and he says he's seen it all.
And he's seen it all.
So he's seen it all, and so he basically like lists out like what we can expect.
Yeah, so it's wild. So he says you could pop into a past life. Some people end up flying. You could relive a past trauma in order to heal it. You could return to the womb and feel womb healing and womb experience. You could be in the ethers, in the universe, getting universal downloads and talking to masters. Lots of people end up talking to past loved ones, which enter you. This was your experience on your last one.
My first one, yes. My first one. And it was interesting. He's like, I've never talked to my dead grandma, but he's like, a couple people in this room had, and I was one of them. Like, I had done it from one time, and the first time I did it, why I said, Jenny, you have to do this, is because I was literally transported and had a conversation with my grandparents.
Yes.
And felt like their love and felt like their connection. And it was so intense, and it was so beautiful, and it was so moving, and it was so healing. And that's why I was like, we have to do this breath work, because I was able to see and speak to a past loved one.
I have to dwell on it a moment. I don't remember if we ever really talked about this story, but the one part of your story that I loved was not only did you pop from the breathing into, and we'll tell you what happened this time, but the last time you did the breathing, there was a minute that boom, your body was out of your body. And what I loved about your story, talking about with your grandma, you were in the room. You saw every element of the room, of the space that you used to like sit with her. And you said, everything was so real and pure and true that you felt there was no doubt in your world you were with her.
Yes. Well, and see, one of the things about this breath work is it's super physical. So while you're breathing, even the first few minutes of doing this breath, you start getting tingly. Your hands start like convulsing. Like literally your face can become lockjaw. Your wrists go into like a weird position because there's different like energy in oxygen that has never gotten to parts of your body that literally make you freeze up. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. And what he tells you, and the facilitator is such a critical part of this, like you can't do this on your own. And that's why this guy, you have to really trust him. And what he says in both sessions, he's like, the only way forward is through. So right when you are literally about to be like, I'm done, I'm ripping off these headphones, I can't do this, this is insane, and it feels so uncomfortable, and you're literally like cramped up in your body, and you're like, I can't breathe like this anymore, I can't breathe, and you're in your head, and you're like, oh my God. And that happened to me the first time where I was like, I'm about to quit, and he literally like opened up my headphones. He must have been able to see from whatever my body was doing as he was facilitating and walking around, and he's like, move forward. The only way forward is through. Keep going. And I did, and that's what happened. Boom, I snapped into it. And the next thing I know, I was in my grandma's dining room. We used to sit all the time. We used to smoke cigarettes together there. And I was sitting right there at a table with her. And my grandpa, who was like such an amazing man, but much quieter. He was like a Marine. And he used to always sit in a different area and kind of watch over us as we talked, was like sitting there too. But he was sitting in his spot. And I was with my grandma and we were talking. And one of the messages I got from my grandpa was like, hey, you can always call on me too. I'm here. Like, and I remember being like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so obviously obsessed with my grandma. You guys have heard enough stories. But like to have my grandpa say that too, I was like, oh my God, it was super so special. Acknowledging. And then from there, I was just on this incredible journey. Right. And that's where I was like, we have to do this again. But it's exactly what you said. Like you kind of snap into a new dimension. Right. Like right when you think you're about to quit, it's like you're there. And
so having been prepped with the story and hearing all of his warnings and sitting there, I'm like, all right, of these 15 things plus more, right? An infinite possibility of where you could go once you click. I don't know if I could pass through the breath. I literally sat there being like, I'm the one who's not going to be able to do it. I really thought so. But also so excited having heard your story. And I think it was the thing that gave me hope because you had told me there's a moment that you don't know. Yeah. So anyway, in here, all right, the lights go down. You actually put headphones on and an eye mask on. That's, a really tight one. So you are blocked from everything. And on the headphones, you start to hear his voice. And he guides you in your headphones the rest of the journey. You have no contact with anyone in the room. And this is an important part. You no longer feel like you're in a room with other people. No. So you're now under a blanket, headphones on, laying down, music's loud. So first he starts with a gentle meditation, gets you going with the breath, and then music hits. And now you found when you were investigating online that a crucial part of the breathwork journey and triggering your brain is the binaural beats that they connect with it. So you start to do the breathing.
Yeah.
You start to hear the music, and we now know that the music that's about to go through the rest of our 1 hour journey was very intentional, picked at the moment it is, and it never stops. And that's actually what keeps you going. If there was just breathing, I'd lose my mind.
No, you would. Well, and that's what these people who created it, like the music is a critical part of the experience. And so you have to, I did too. And one of the things is like, once you're in the music, like you said, you feel like you're the only ones there and it's all you can hear. So he's like, turn the music up really loud. And another thing before we started, what he said, he's like, we all had to say out loud, I give myself permission to scream. I give myself, remember that? I give myself permission to let my body do whatever, to convulse, to let my body do whatever it needs to do. I give my body permission to make any noise it needs to make. And so we're like, what the fuck? Like, I just had to say, like, what is happening? And like, everyone's like looking around. And it's like, and at first you're like, again, because we're human, we're like, sure, I'll say this out loud, but I'm not going to be freaking screaming in this place. And I don't care. But once you're in with the headphones and the frig and the eyes so he only talks for a few minutes and then it's just music. And it's like these binaural beats that are like basically pumping through your entire body. And like there's specific music so you can feel in each of like your cells. And once that is on and you start the breathing, the things I did, when
like what your body did.
Like what my freaking body did, I'm embarrassed. Like it is like you have to trust this person to be walking around because God knows what this man has seen.
No,
it is
what has he witnessed?
Oh my God, what he has witnessed. And so we were off. Like we're off on a journey. Off to the races.
Off to the races. That is right.
And I will say, like, it being my second time, oh my God, was it different than my first time? And he said that too. He's like, don't expect the same experience. Yeah. And mine was night and day. And I will say that I jumped into the journey, I feel like much quicker. Because the first time I was really in that physicality and I was like my wrist and everything. And this time it was also like very physical.
How long would you say you were breathing before you think you popped into your journey?
Oh my God, such a good question. I don't know. I would say I started feeling like in a different state of consciousness, like fairly quickly. So one of the things that he didn't mention and you had asked before is like while you're doing this breathing, like you're very focused on your breathing. You're like in, and then you like out, and then you don't want to be hyperventilating, but you want to be doing this round breath. And so you're doing this. Once your mind flips to an altered state of consciousness, you don't even think about the breathing anymore.
No,
so you stop thinking about the breathing. Mm-hmm. And so while you're asking me this question, like when you stop, it's almost like when did I stop concentrating on the breathing? And when was I just either breathing normally, but tripping, or was I still breathing it, but not having to think about it? And so that's what happened. I didn't have to focus on the breath as long this time as I did the first time.
That makes sense.
And I don't even necessarily think it's because I'm like, I've done it before, so I know what I'm doing. I think it's just whatever your body reacts and whatever you need. And that's like what he also said is that your body's only going to do what you can handle. Right. Your body is like, trust your internal soul and your internal map. Mm-hmm. And he's like, your internal map will only take you and bring you what you need. So if you're not ready for healing trauma from a certain experience, you won't go there.
Right.
You know, like you won't go to a past life. Your body's going to bring you to what it thinks you need and what it still will protect you even in this altered state. And so, while that first experience I had, it was lovely. I was with my grandparents. And afterwards, I went to the universe and was flying around. And it was fantastic. This.
Oh, girl.
Oh, my God. So basically what happened to me is I went to this altered state. And I felt like, in my experience, like I was definitely healing trauma, like in my womb. And so I felt the support of like 1,000 years. And when I talk about the feminine energy, I felt the support of every mother that's ever been, past, present, and future. I felt the mother in all of us. I literally felt like the divine feminine energy. I had the backing of the world women behind me in this like state of consciousness. And they were all there and I could like see them and I could feel them and I could talk to them. And basically they told me to like put my hands like I'm like my freaking my like pelvis like on my womb, and like before I knew it, I was like again, this guy he could be like freaking like taking pictures and jerking off to like the most ridiculous like experiences. Like if we're being honest, like God knows what this guy does. I know he doesn't, but it's like I thought about the other side of things. But literally, my hands are on my womb, and I am like
literally like gyrating, like I'm like having sex, like in the air, like I'm like, and I am like feeling like the trauma of like, it wasn't even just my trauma. I really was feeling like heal the world. And I felt like while I'm doing this, I'm getting the support. I'm getting the support of like the babies I've lost. I'm getting the support of both of my grandmothers. I'm getting the support of like, literally, like I could feel my daughter's, Fiona's energy there. Yeah. Like it was everything. And I'm doing this. But while I'm doing it, I am gyrating. I'm like looking like I'm like legit having sex with somebody, like having sex with the air. But it's not. It's totally time. I'm like going to town. I'm like literally fucking the ground. It's gonna like, I don't know if we swear on this show. I don't know if we swear anymore. But it was insane. I'm like literally like sitting there like going crazy. And while I'm doing this, I get the worst nauseousness I've ever felt. Oh, and so I'm literally like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Yep, like I feel death, like death itself. Like I feel like I'm getting death out of like the trauma that everyone is like, I'm feeling I was thinking about my grandma who had a stillborn. Like I'm thinking about the things that are going through my head are literally like images of like trauma and sadness stuck inside. I'm just going there and I felt physically the most nauseous and sick I've ever felt. Like I'm going to throw up. So I'm having this experience. I'm gyrating and like literally like having sex with the air, but like also pulling out trauma.
Did you make noises?
Oh yes, I did. I was crying. Okay. Oh my God, crying, tears.
So again,
wailing.
I wouldn't know because I have headphones on.
Wailing again, like, and I couldn't hear anyone else. And like again, afterwards,
that's not true. There were a few people.
You're probably hearing me.
Wild screaming that I could hear through the music. Maybe it was.
Wild screaming. Like it wasn't me. I was like freaking like giving. Oh my God! Like giving freaking birth. It was insane. No. So I was doing all of these crazy emotions, but I wanted it to be over so bad. I felt every second. So while I went in quickly, even though I was in a different state, even though I was literally experiencing some of the most like profound messaging, like some of like the reminder to love yourself, to remind like there was a very like clear thing like mothers need rest, and like this permission given to again like to all women, and that like we are every mother, like I talked to the baby I had lost, and like she was like, oh, I was never meant to be, but like it was crazy, like it was, and I had to experience all of these things, like it was such great messaging, but encapsulated in this very nauseating physical feeling, like the most nauseous. Ill. I was ill. I was so ill. I could not wait for it to be over, but at the same time wanted to experience every second. I was like, finally, when I stopped like gyrating, like having sex with the air to pull out the trauma, I was like, I had to like literally, I flipped over on my stomach. I had my freaking cheeks and forehead on like the hard, not on the mat, trying to cool myself off. So it's like this weird thing. Like I was in such a different state, but also new. And I was having like the guys tell me like, feel the ground. Like you're here. Like I was here and there, and they're like, and they were telling me like, feel the ground. Like you're in your body. Like this is good. Like we're not in a body, so we need you to like be like. It was really, really intense. Again, with like my grandma and the first one, it was so uncomfortable. And it's no coincidence that the entire time, all day, I kept wanting to be like, maybe we should just cancel this one.
I
didn't want to go.
No,
I didn't want to go.
So many times.
I'm like,
we shouldn't end our trip on this
one.
I
know. I kept saying that. I was like, I don't know if I want to drive home after this thing. So we had to leave. And I was like, and then I had to be like, okay, I trust that my body had the blueprint, and this is apparently what I need to do. And a week removed, I'm telling you, I had one of the best weeks. Yeah. So like we'll tell you more stories, but that's just like my experience. I'm apparently wailing, like gyrating,
nauseous,
like convulsing.
You were so green when we came to. Like I was like, oh God.
Well, little happened? Did I know, like we all shared afterwards, and I was like, and I was shaking, like still, even when it was over. And I was like, barely even thinking about what to share, but I said, I feel like I was going to throw up. He's like, oh yeah, I know. I put the garbage can near you. Yeah. He's like, I saw that. Yeah. He's like, that's very, he's like, that's common. He's like, when I've done this with he's done this for like 500 people in New York City. He's like, everyone got like a bag to throw up in. He's like, when you're like getting rid of some of these emotions, he's like, it's very normal. And everyone's like, why didn't you tell us that before? Yeah. And because he hadn't. No. So and he did say, he's like, hey, there's nothing I haven't seen. He's like, so it wouldn't even have been weird. But I'm like, I was burping. Like I was like getting like weird sounds came out of you, gurgling. Burping, I feel like I was releasing stuff.
Air. Yeah, it was bizarro. But you had like a true healing and an expelling. That was one of my biggest things all week I was thinking about you, because you were so ill, and but it was so funny when you told me the story on the ride home. it was so equally profound and deep and wonderful and healing for you as you were still currently nauseous. And so I thought, I think you're going to wake up and feel like a better version of you. Did you?
I did.
I'm so happy. I was thinking about you all week.
Well, even in the ChatGPT, when I was really going into like how they scientifically have tested people after doing this and have found that there is like a release of stress. Like there's actually pent up like trauma and healing in our body. Like the body keeps a score, but it's also in our subconscious. So like to have like the body mixed with the subconscious, or the subconscious, or like your not even subconscious, your consciousness, like being allowed to heal, because it was healing my consciousness. I really felt like I was going through this pain in a weird way to like accomplish what all these women behind me were telling me needed to be done. And so I was like, I felt like I was doing it again for like the good of the world, and like, and I know it sounds like so like when you say it out loud, it sounds so ridiculous. Like we're like, yes, of course, that's what was happening. It sounds ridiculous, and I know, like, but whatever, that's what it felt like, and so I'm gonna buy it. I'm in it. Like it was. That's what it felt like. I did. I honestly believe it, and the way my body reacted, that's what I'm going with. So
it's crazy.
It's so crazy. So
I had a completely different one.
Completely different.
Yeah. So I was stuck in the breathing claustrophobia for a minute. I think it took me a long time. I was breathing for a while, and there was a moment I actually was like, I'm running out of this room.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I felt really like so stuck in that breath. And it's so weird. There was a moment where like he did say, when you feel that way, just lean into your body, feel your body, be your body. And that probably left an impression of what ended up happening first to me. So there is a minute, and I couldn't get over it. There's a magic moment when you release from your body. And like gives me the goosebumps talking about it. You go from being so aware of your body to a point of it feels uncomfortable to being free from it.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most wild natural experiences I've ever had. And you're somewhere else. One of my biggest things was all of mine felt less visual and more knowing. I was being communicated with. There was knowing and feelings. And it was no longer body feelings anymore. And I feel like I have to read the first one. I journaled right after.
Yes,
so
please.
As dorky as this is,
and it might,
and now I can't edit myself, so there might be something embarrassing. But the first part,
no more embarrassing.
No, I know.
What I said about literally having sex with
the air, and you healed all women, so I can read anything now. All right. So I wrote, I really was truly on a journey. It felt like I was taken to all the questions I had spiritually asked. So things like, when I meditate, am I really hearing my spirit guides like I think? And like a bunch of moments I found myself where I've asked the universe, are you here? Is this happening? It was like it took me on a journey of that. And all of a sudden it was like the Christmas Carol where you went to past, present, future. I went to little moments and scenes that almost replayed, and I saw that they were there, which is so cool. But one of my biggest ones was it hit me first really, really strong to ground and be in your body. Be in your body. I felt that I received the message that when I have endured rapes, and I will note, and I'm sorry, trigger warning here, I was in this lifetime, and I had been told on that weekend in a different session and by people other that that's happened to me in almost every life over and over again. I could speak to this one, but it felt like at once I was being healed in those experiences. But I was being told that in order to survive these experiences, I disassociate and detach from my body to protect myself. And my soul has learned this in every lifetime, that when the violation happens, I detach and go to spirit, because that's the safe space. And because I've done this so much, I still do it in this life. I'm unable to fully receive my body and let myself be of body because of these moments. Yeah, but also in my body in general, it's the defense to be safe in spirit form. So my message was to appreciate and ground and be one with this body, to appreciate where I am and be a part of it. A part of my becoming deeper and more spiritual is to learn to be a part of my body. And by doing so, I've grounded myself to reach higher to spirit. And instead of being escapism to spirit, I actually saw myself be an escapist. Like for me, I don't like working out. I'm not a runner on the ground. I'm not an earth ground person. I'm pop me into astral projection.
Well, that's why you always want to meditate and get in your head.
Right, but I had such a strong thing that I hide in spirit. Ooh, be one with body.
That's called a spiritual escapism, where you feel like everything's okay because you go
and
so
into. I saw that.
Ooh.
So I started to feel my body in a way I don't. And then it was here we go again. there's something that's like, because you're feeling sensations that are almost sexual, from my toes up to my belly button, I had full tingling that felt amazing. Borderline orgasmic.
Oh, so you were going the other way.
I don't think
you were having like
gyrating.
No.
I just felt like warm
Well, he
fuzzies.
said that was the thing that could also happen. You could have like literally orgasms in this thing.
Yes,
Now,
yes. I wish I did. Actually, I don't, because a man was watching. But it was warm. It was warm
That's
fuzzies.
amazing.
But what I'll tell you is, when the warm fuzzies happened, it felt more of a healing. So, like you in this moment, I feel like I'm really, really being healed, and I don't feel like at this moment it's this lifetime. I feel like I'm going through many, many lifetimes, and that was really cool. So this happened for a very long time. The Jenny like learned to be grounded and this healing. I'm feeling amazing warm fuzzies. I have the feeling at some point that, and one of my biggest questions, and I've told you I've been mad when we've gone to people and I say, where the F are my spirit guides? When this is the one, it makes me teary-eyed. I felt them in a way I've never felt them in my whole life. They were taking me on my journey. I felt, and it's funny because we have two themes where you felt all the women supporting you. I've never felt more supported. I felt the energy of all of my spirit guides, angels, and even greater than that. I felt the collective support. That's what. And I don't know how else to say it. So cheesy, but true.
It's so cheesy. It's so hard to explain. I have the same thing. I feel like you don't even know how you can feel it, but you know it. It's because this altered state of consciousness. It's like you're in a different consciousness. You're in a different. You're in a different dimension where you can experience it. You weren't so stuck in like earth form because you had like transcended. You could feel it. I love it.
It's transcendent. So I felt like I journeyed through multiple lives, and I was healing my soul and my body. And I felt like one of the work they were doing on me was this connecting my spirit to this version of Jenny, like this version of me be here now. And it felt really beautiful. I felt very like, I think I hugged myself was my action. And then from there, like I popped into the ethers. It was like I was dancing around the universe, and it felt beautiful and healing, and I was one. And so many things happened, but they kind of feel like really out there and more like, I know this is weird as a person who loves telling stories. So much of this feels like my private story, which is so weird, but I just felt one and on a beautiful journey where I was shown so many amazing things. But a couple notables was, and you guys are going to love this. I'm not back to meditating fully, but I've started to return to it. They showed me in my room in my house that I haven't lived in for a year. They showed me my meditation room, and they showed that they've always been there. And that by the energy of my frequent meditating, I had created kind of almost like a energy portal that felt like it was a real and true, like beautiful, almost holy spot I had created in our
vortex,
home.
right?
Like a vortex. And I was shown it. And then the very special place where my house is in the world, I was shown that really cool elements come together to support me in nature. There's a rock that's like the tip of an iceberg that you could see from my house. It goes under my house and touches the water underneath. We're on the harbor, so the water flows, and the water from the harbor goes under the ground. I actually saw a current flow under my house, whether that's true or not. I saw the visual. I saw all these things, and the big, big, beautiful oak tree is the only thing I could see in my window when I sit on the ground to meditate. And I saw all of these nature components come together to create and support my meditating. And that not only do I meditate, I had that funny feeling where I was meant to do it, like I'm putting good energy in the world, and that spot's special. And this is so exciting. I'm moving into my house next week, and I will return to that spot. And the funny thing is, in the middle of renovation this year, there's been a few times where literally my house was like wide open to nature because it was to the studs. I've sat in my spot where I used to meditate and like just to find a grounding moment, and it worked. Like I just said, amidst this chaos and disaster, I found it. So that showed them. And again, like I said, the journey really felt like what it was like, we're showing me all the moments I asked questions, and they're like, here I am, we're here. And it is what you think it is. And I thought that was so cool. And then one of my like final like resting places of it was that I felt one was source. I felt I was in the ethers. I felt I was floating in warm honey of light, like a honey light. And it was amber and oozy and warm, and it was light, and it was energy, and it was beauty, and it was love, and it felt so good. And I just had so many lovely downloads. And this is the one that kind of embarrasses me, but brings me to a story that happened this week. That was kind of my woo-woo story of the week. I had an overwhelming feeling that my hands could be light work hands. Now, I've never been drawn to Reiki in my life, but the message I really was getting that if I wanted to be a healer, I could, and I could lay hands on people. I have never really felt this. I've never wanted to learn Reiki in particular. I've had it, I give or take. I'm like, whatever about it. But in this moment, my hands were glowing, tingling. They felt so amazing. And in my tingling hands, I felt the million energy of all the support of the angels, the guides, and the ethers in my hands. And it was the feeling that was so special that as I do this, I'm holding my hands up to you and I could feel it again. I feel the energy in my hands that I felt at that moment, and my hands are tingling while I'm telling you. I know that my funny movements in my thing is my hands were being held out like to God, like it's outstretched. And that was one of my funny things. And I'll go to my woo-woo in a minute, but because the other thing that I don't want to forget is the other spot on my journey I went to is I did pop into a past life. I forgot about this.
Oh, yeah. I did too, actually. There's so many things
in this hour that you visit. So I suddenly, a face, and I'm not visual, is a grandma, and it is a Hawaiian grandma. And I see her face and she's so loving, and she's like my mother or my grandmother or a million grandmothers. And she is there as my guide for this moment of my journey. I popped down to a tribal fire into, I think, a historic, like long ago Hawaii lands. And I don't know why I know it's Hawaii, but it feels like Hawaii to me, which I think if you follow me, you know I'm so connected. I'm dancing. I actually have a memory association where I did this breath in. I'm popped into a breathwork journey in Hawaii. And I have everyone around me. It's the most loving people. And everyone who's there are the people that you love so much. It's like of tribes that I've ever felt. I've never felt more connected to people than I feel in this moment with the fire and breath work. And I'm one, and my grandma, my Hawaiian grandma that's there. It's really, really beautiful. So that was really cool. And that felt so unlike our like past life regressions where you question if you're making it up. This is such a big differentiation from my regression. There isn't one moment that I'm doubting that I'm experiencing what I am. This is so distinct to me. Regression, I was like, am I making this up? Is this a fuzzy dream? In this moment, this is, everything is so gosh darn real.
Even though it's coming from you. And we talked about that on the way home. That was one of a big takes. I'm so glad you brought that up. Because the past life feels so fake because it's coming from you. Even though this is technically coming from you, it feels, it's real. And since you brought that up, my past life I did come to that same past life that I had in my past life regression. It was much clearer in this one, but I was also on like a beach with a baby in this like same environment. And it was funny because we had a very similar experience where I was in some like area and there was drums beating and there was dancing, and I was enjoying, like I'd put like in my past life, I'd had this experience where, again, it felt so unreal in my past life experience, but like where I'd put a baby out to like the sea, like a baby had passed away and I put it out to sea. And in this one, like, I think I knew the baby was like, I wasn't gonna be with the baby anymore, but I got to hold the baby in this current breath work. And it felt so
which would have been a trauma healing that you pulled into forever.
It was so interesting. So I was like, so it's so funny, but you're right. And it felt so much more like I would rather do a past life regression through breath work.
Me too.
Right? 100%. I would rather have because I think if there was a facilitator.
Someone led you
If there must be, because they do facilitating with this stuff. And if you could facilitate, because they, like, again, the facilitator is a critical part of this, but if he could walk you through, like, now go to a past life as you're breathing, you would, because you are in a state where you could be like,
holy,
right?
Sweet Jesus.
Did we just come up with a new thing?
If it doesn't exist, we just found our calling. But honestly, that's it. The difference was outrageous. And you want to know what? That's why I didn't think breathwork would work, because I didn't feel fully hypnotized in the regression.
I was never hypnotized in the regression. Well, I was a little bit maybe, but I wasn't.
But it doesn't
not like
feel like
this.
This feels so intense. So anyway, I see my Hawaii lifetime. I see grandma that I love, and to this moment, she comforts me all week long. I've thought of her like one I don't have in this lifetime, which is very cool. I don't have grandmas, so this was very special. It's my grandma moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to the healing hands. The healing hands was like kind of what I ended with. And along with healing hands, I really, really did feel like the light worker message of like, you are a light worker. And when you get through your healing and you have healing, and this was repeated, I have healing left to do to be a healer, but I meant to be a healer. I felt it, but these healing hands. So I have to pop out of my journey for a minute to give you a story that happened this week.
Okay. Your woo-woo.
Yeah. My woo-woo, if you will. So I'm living at my brother's in the last stretch of my not living in my house, right? And he has babies. And my little niece, Letty, is the cutest little girl. She's a little angel. And she just turned 1 a couple months ago. So she's like 14 months-ish, 15 months. And so she's not talking yet. So, baby babble, not even full words. But she's going through teething, is in a lot of pain, has fevers off and on from it. We're sitting alone in the toy room, and we are Indian style. And she keeps holding on to her teeth, and I could tell that her teeth hurt. Now, as much as I love her and she loves me, she's not as used to me as other people. So I don't hold her as much as like other people that she has like her 3 people. And I'm not one of the 3. I'm getting there. I'm working on it. Anyway, we're sitting there, and I remember I thought, no one is here. My hands can be healing.
No one's here.
No one's
It's so
looking.
good. I love it.
No one's looking. So I close my eyes, and I'm not embarrassed. She doesn't know what I'm up to. And she's like playing. And I close my eyes and let my hands get to a state where they feel exactly like they did in my journey. And I hold her 2 cheeks with my 2 hands. And she leans into them and just coos. And I let them go. And she takes my hands and puts them back. And I do it again. And I'm like, Jenny, reconnect with the energy that you felt. Yeah. And I swear to God, my hands are charged, and I've reconnected to the outlet, the energy outlet of that experience of when I was in tune. And I do it again. And I put my hands down, and she smiles so big, and her eyes are wild and filled with light. She grabs them again, and she holds her hands on my hands and wants me to just keep my hands there. And I swear in my heart and soul, God. I know,
of course,
that this is real. And if I want to go back to this, this little baby, there's no doubt we're having a moment, and she's feeling what I think she's feeling. And it felt even more wholesome than if I had told it to my kids, who would say, yeah, Mom, I feel your hands now. This unspoken, I felt her being
plus
feeling,
they're so, babies are so connected, and
so
oh my God, it's so amazing.
And her the lightness of her when this was happening. So just put that aside, that one of my nuggets is to return to this. My life is busy. This isn't where I'm at, but I want to explore that now.
I love it.
All right. Now come back in, pop back in my journey.
It's a good woo-woo.
It's a good woo-woo. My journey ends with just the best warm fuzzy. I'm supported. My guides are here. I believe in them. I can't wait to go meditate. Woo, woo, woo. Yay. Woo, woo for life. And then we pop out. And I have to tell you, this is the funniest thing. I literally don't know how I'm going to stand up. I'm high as a kite. I feel like I hope I never come down. Your eyes are open. You take the headphones off. You take the eye thing off. And I'm like, this is amazing. I want to be high the rest of my life. And I look at you. And I don't know if you're white or green, but you're somehow both at the same time. And I'm pretty sure you're about to vomit where you're sitting. Yeah. And it's very clear we've had starkly different things. But
I remember looking at you and just shaking my head no. This is no, this is I'm not doing good. No, I'm not well.
I'm unwell. So I had a really beautiful experience. It was wrapped up with a bow, happy, wonderful healing. I had that really cool message about it's time to connect with my body in a way I've never heard. And that was profound to me. Saw a past life. It was all so good. And then I ended, and he talks to us for a while, which we'll tell you, just get into for one quick second. We go through what other people experience, which is very cool. But I needed that time. I wouldn't have been now able to physically stand. You come out, and there's no doubt you're in an altered state of mind.
Oh my God!
I was.
You are. You're it's like literally if you've ever done drugs and you're coming down, but you're not down. Yeah, you are slowly, and you're still in it, and you're oh my God, and you've been changed and impacted. You've taken it's like you've been on something.
I was sad to leave. I'm like, please don't take me out of this feeling. I don't want to leave this feeling.
So you had such how my first experience was. It's the exact same.
I'm afraid to do it.
But no, you can't. But see, honestly, even with what I experienced, the messaging and the support, and I feel like the healing afterwards, I would 100% do this again. Yeah. I would actually go back just to do this, because it is, I told this, it's such a life-changing experience, because you cannot, it's hard to think that you can bring yourself to that safe. And it's not I don't know. You know how sometimes people if you hold your breath too long, you get blurry visions. You think it's something so different. It really is a different connection. Yes. It is legit just connecting to your consciousness, because breath is light. Yeah.
That's all it is. You are plugged into conscience. conscious. And there's no doubt that's where you are. You're no longer body. It is the coolest, most beautiful thing. So it's hilarious. This always happens to us. We said, we'll go high level. So we have a couple of people that were
had some cool experiences.
And this is also what was so neat, if you're thinking about doing this, is of all the journeys he said you could go on, it seemed like everyone in the room had gone on a different one, and it was very cool. Do you want to share like one of the ones you thought was amazing?
This one woman basically was like, I was adopted, and I was adopted at birth. I've never really thought much about my birth mother or that or my parent, because I have my parents are my parents and I love them and everything's great. She's like, but I went back to where, and I'm getting goosebumps right now just retelling the story. I went back to where my mother had me like wrapped in a basket and put me in front of like a hospital or like a fire station.
Sound like a movie scene.
Like it sounded like a movie scene. She's like, and what I felt was I went back there and I felt my mother's hands on my arms. How long she held me.
Hands.
Yeah, she's like,
Warm
how
love.
long she held me. She held me for so long before she let go. And this is what is so fascinating. We can't dig into this, but you hear that and you're like, that's beautiful. Like there's love there. It's beautiful. But then she proceeded to say, she's like, I was so angry. I couldn't get past. She's like, I couldn't get past in that moment. So she has like this trauma inside of her that is stuck. Even though you can like, from the way she retold the story, she was like telling like her mother obviously had this love for her and was probably doing it for the best. But it sounds like she has wonderful parents now. But like, this woman spent her time like after that feeling of just being so angry and processing the anger that she had from being given up for adoption as a brand new baby. And it was fascinating to have felt that. She felt it on her arms, her mother like feeling it.
Well, I'd say it almost seemed like everyone had a very different experience.
Oh my God.
But the theme is that some healing happened. Like you chose a journey that caused healing. One of the other ones we had that we thought was pretty strong was a woman had lost her dad and knew that she was losing her mom. And she visited with her dad and it was really, really special. And he's waiting for her mom. And she saw her mom in a field of flowers and she saw what her mom would be like after she passed and she knew everything would be okay. And then though she was about to leave this weekend away to know she was going into it, she got so much peace and grace and to go into the situation she was going to go into. And that was like amazing. And she has this beautiful vision of her mom.
And how her mom will be healed from this life. And because her mom's obviously, in a bad.
And so that was beautiful. And there was a lot like
There was a good one too that went in a totally different direction. There was a woman who shared that she was a cancer survivor. And during her journey, she basically was given permission to look forward and be excited about the future. So it sounded like she had a very guided, helpful, like spiritual just experience to be like, hey, you can look forward at the future. Yes. Like you are allowed to like to not just live in like a sick body and be scared, like be forward thinking. And so she came away with like hope. Yes, you know, it was like, it was, and then there was some guy who just went flying. He's like, it was awesome. I was just like flying the whole time. Like, you know, just super like seems low key, man. It's all he could handle that day. So overall, it's one of the most profound experiences I've done twice now. And both times I was like, you can't even like make this shit up. It's so insane.
No. And I'd say we did like, I don't know, 8 things over the weekend. And I thought each of them was going to be the one I remembered. This is the one that stayed with me. The feeling of support is not gone away. The grandma's face. There are multiple things just stuck with me. I really recommend this. We definitely set up the fear factor on it, but it's worth pushing through. It's a crazy journey. It's so cool. If you have anything like this near you, I say try it. Want your stories if you've already done it or if you go do it, but I say go to it.
And if you're in this area, we can post the guy who does it because he does it on his own.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he is so amazing. And so you feel trusted. I feel like that's another thing. You got to make sure you trust the person doing this because it is so vulnerable.
Right.
So
well, there you go, guys. We shared, as per usual, way more than what we promised ourselves. And as I think we always sign out this way, is if you stuck with us this far, you are our people. So thank you for listening.
All right, thanks. Like the show? We'd love your support. Right now, we're doing an awesome giveaway. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Screenshot the review and send it to hello@soguided.com or DM us on Instagram @SoGuidedPodcast. You'll be entered to win a basket of our favorite woo-woo goodies, crystals, cacao, and all the high-vibe goodies we love. Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.